Hallo en welkom hier by Farmspace. Right, ons is by Standard Bank se 4x4 roete op Nampo 2023. Kerels, onthou om die app af te laai. Selfs met my pikante lyfie kon ek nie by al die uitstallers uitkom die jaar op Nampo nie. So gaan laai die app af, daar's 'n virtuele toer daar. Jy kan saam met ons rondstap op Nampo, jy kan ingaan by van die uitstallers se stalletjies, kyk na die produkte wat hulle daarso het en natuurlik by die 4x4 roete kan jy in die kar inklim en dan natuurlik die 4x4 roete saam met ons ervaar op die virtuele toer. So gaan laai die app af. Ons gaan nou in die Isuzu se SUV inspring, die MUX, die 3 liter SLE. Hy het natuurlik die 3 liter SLE turbo diesel engine in wat 'n heftige 140 kW op 3600 RPM's uitskop en dan die 450 Nm se torque op 1600. So hy bring daai krag vir jou teen lekker lae revs. En dan word hy natuurlik aangebied met die 6-spoed outomatiese radkas. So kerels, moenie uitmis nie. Laai die app af, gaan by die virtuele toer in, kom kyk hoe lyk die kar binne en kom doen die volle 4x4 roete saam met ons. Right, kom ons laat wiel. Hello and welcome to Farmspace. Right, we're at Standard Bank's 4x4 route at Nampo 2023. We're in the Isuzu. We're here with Chris Prinsloo, and he's going to be taking us through the course, chat to us a bit about the Isuzu range that they have here at Nampo, and yeah, just telling us a bit about 4x4 and how the car reacts on the course. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and yourself?
It's always nice in an Isuzu, no complaints.
Well, it's fantastic. We love the Isuzus. We've taken, this is the new model year 2023 LSE that has just been launched. We've just done the launch to the dealers. This is the 3 liter turbo diesel, 140 kilowatt, 450 Newton meters of torque.
There's enough power.
Enough power. This vehicle comes fully spec'd, as you see, paddle shifts. It's got the all the infotainment, Apple CarPlay, but most importantly, it's got all the 4x4 capabilities.
Yeah.
Low range. It's got hill descent control. It's got traction control. It's got a rear diff lock, stability control. So it's absolutely everything that you need to run a vehicle comfortably, both in the urban and in the rural environment.
Okay, cool. Suspension on the car?
Suspension's good. It's got class-leading suspension travel. It's got the watt linkage suspension in the rear, which gives you more comfort, because this is a full 7-seater. So from a comfort point of view, it gives you a lot more comfort. The front suspension is the same as our D-Max, our legendary D-Max Bucky.
Yes, yeah.
But the rear suspension is the difference. The D-Max obviously being the load-bearing capacity, and this being the full people carrying vehicle.
Okay, cool. So Chris, we're starting the track now. Obviously, going to the seesaw. What? How does the car react? What are you looking for? How do you play that game?
So 4x4ing is all about control, and the old adage is slow as necessary, as fast as possible. So this is all about controlling our speed and making sure that we've got just enough speed to go over an obstacle. So right now what we're waiting is for the seesaw to be realigned. This is a hydraulic seesaw, so we don't have to worry about weight points and distribution. We just go up on the hydraulics. We try and make sure that we're correctly aligned. We want to go up nice and slowly, preferably not off the edge, because it tends to have a dampener on the day.
Yeah, that does change the theme.
And yeah, it's all about the control. It's about showing the vehicle off in its best possible light and making sure that we enjoy the ride.
Sure. What sort of what degree is this incline? If you had to?
This is about a 25-degree incline. So it's not steep. But obviously the whole thing about being up in the air and about having very little play on either left or right, it gives a nice feeling, especially the going down. So what we're going to do now is we're going to gently feather the brakes going down off the seesaw and turn to the right. After I've done my turn to the right, we're going to go over a little bank, and that bank is going to require the use of the diff lock. We want to apply the diff lock in a straight line. So we apply the diff lock now. The reason why we apply the diff lock is because when one wheel lifts off the ground or loses traction, even though the vehicle is in full 4x4, all power goes through the wheel with least resistance or traction. So that's why we lock the diff lock in. Our diff locks, we can actually turn with them, but preferably it's advisable to switch them off whilst we're turning. So I can deactivate the diff lock now, line up for this cross-axle situation now, where we will have one, possibly two wheels off the ground. and I can reapply the diff lock now and line up on this obstacle.
For the cross axle. You obviously had some experience. We spoke a bit earlier. You were driving the single cab manual, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
What's your experience? Obviously, having the different rear suspension for the load carrying. How do the other Isuzus in the 4x4 range react on the cross axles?
So the D-Maxes react very well. Thank you very much. The big difference between the two being that of wheel articulation. The MUX has a much better wheel articulation in the rear.
Okay.
So we have wheels on ground for a lot longer than we have with the D-Max. The D-Max, because of the suspension type, tends to lift its rear wheel, as all buckies would do, a lot easier.
Understandable, yeah.
But you know, with the use of the diff lock, it just makes it so easy. A very nice point on our diff locks, just as a side issue, is our diff locks automatically disengage should you have forgotten a diff lock on after 40 k's an hour.
Oh, okay,
which
cool.
is a very unique feature to the Isuzu range. We do have a traction control in these vehicles as well, but with diff lock being a feature, we very, very seldom use the traction control.
Sure. And then obviously the market that we sort of cater to, being the agricultural market,
yes,
and a lot of guys touring as well. How do the Isuzus react, in your opinion, on high-speed gravel, that type of situation?
So Isuzus have been renowned as being one of the best gravel road vehicles, buckies,
Okay.
on the market for many, many years. And the amount of localization, the amount of localization that the Isuzu engineers do to our vehicles is quite substantial. And what do I mean by localization? These vehicles look the same as the vehicles that are manufactured in Thailand and shipped to Australia. They look visually the same,
yeah,
but there's extensive South Africanisms that are done to these vehicles.
Oh, that's really interesting.
So things like larger alternators, battery systems, air coolers, the cloth of on the floor, the seat coverings, the sound dampenings, the dust proofing in locks, our axle, diff and engine breathers are all raised, and they come out at our fuel filler pipe to make sure that our vehicles are substantially tougher than what you would get anywhere else in the world. So that's quite an important thing. Even things like the diff locks. Our diff locks are locally developed diff locks.
Okay.
Our intercoolers are bigger intercoolers. Our turbos are bigger turbos. So that is a big thing. If I was either an overlander or if I was in the agricultural or commercial field and I was making a decision as to buying a bucky, I'd want to take that into account and ensure that I've made the right choice.
Sure, it's fair to say that it's sort of tailor-made for the South African market.
Without a shadow of a doubt. So these vehicles are manufactured, the D-Maxes. The D-Maxes are manufactured in Quebec in Port Elizabeth, and the MUXs are manufactured in Thailand with all the localizations built into them. And they are really, as I said, tailor-made for our requirements. So we're now going to go down on our hill descent control. The hill descent control kicks in at 4 k's an hour. This is a sharp hill, and our hill descent really only grabs at the bottom. So we're going to go down on the brakes nice and easy, and we're going to feather it with a combination of hill descent and the brakes to ensure that we don't have the vehicle running away from us.
Sure. Chris, thank you so much. You got us home safely. And thanks for sharing your knowledge and a bit of your experience on the 4x4. And great vehicle. Really impressed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Cool, you too. En nou het julle dit. Hier so van Farmspace af. We're with Chris in the Isuzu. Definitely want to have a look at if you're doing a bit of serious 4x4ing. And we're in the SUV, obviously. Very comfortable family vehicle. And then the legendary D-Max that we spoke about earlier. But yeah, cool. Thank you for stopping by. And till next time, cheers.